All right, today is April 26, 2025. This is a Learning Live. Go ahead and gather some note-taking materials, whether they be digital or physical. You will also need a second device momentarily as we just review the principle of world leadership on the website. The website is theturnarounddoctor.com, and you will go there and go to the 74 Principles of World Leadership page. Scroll down to leader led, and we are in number 9, think positive. So note taking materials, secondary device. On your own, go ahead and inhale 3 times, inhale and exhale 3 times. Good morning, Lola. I am Dr. Donna Louise Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas. I am granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Today's topic is think positive. We're going to be going over the definition of think, the definition of positive, as well as why people can't think positive and some things that you can do to start thinking positive. This live lasts around about an hour to an hour and 7 minutes. It may go to an hour and 15 minutes if we get into a lengthy discussion. With that being said, how did we get here? We got here through neurogenesis, which is the creation of new neurons in your brain. That leads to neuroplasticity, which creates new neural pathways within your brain. You take that, you combine that with the theory of personal accountability and the 74 principles of world leadership, and what you end up with is neuropability. That's your brain's ability to wire itself to use the 74 principles of world leadership to create unlimited neural pathways in your brain so they all lead to you becoming your best day in and day out. How does that happen? It happens here in this amazing frontal lobe. We use the executive function of the brain here on the live because that's where the magic happens, and that is known as the CEO of the brain. So without further ado, let's use the executive function of your brain today. Think positive. I initially reviewed all 74 principles of the real leadership. If you'd like to see those, you can go to the live tab on the YouTube channel and scroll down, and it will show you the overview of that. Now I am taking each individual principle of real leadership separately, defining every word in it so that you can understand it to its totality. You can understand every word, roll it up into the principle, create that new neural pathway, and then you can combine it with other neural pathways so that you too can be a bad mofo just like me. All right, without further ado, think. And I started using GPT recently, and so there's a myriad of different types of information that I'm able to extrapolate. Did you not hear me, Shark Space, when I said I'm talking about think positive, or did you just arrive? Okay. I am talking about think positive, which is one of the 74 principles of world leadership. Good morning, Regina. Should you decide to stay, this is a learning live, gather note-taking materials and a second device, and go to the website, theturnarounddoctor.com. So I'm speaking right now. Should you stay and you have any questions beyond what I'm currently talking about, there will be moments throughout when I will say, what questions do you have? It's at that point that you ask questions. So in summary, I'm talking about think positive. If you're staying, gather note-taking materials, physical or virtual, and a second device. Go to theturnarounddoctor.com. On that second device, 74 Principles of Real Leadership. Scroll down to Leader Led, and think positive is number 9. The definition of think, and it's a detailed definition. Okay, you just need to go to the website once, and you already know what the 74 principles of real leadership are. We're not watching videos today, so you're good to go, Regina. Definition of think: to use your mind to form ideas, opinions, or make decisions, to consider or reason about something. To use your mind to form ideas, opinions, or make decisions. to consider or reason about something. That's the quick definition of think. And now we're going to go into the full meaning of think. To use the mind actively to form connected ideas, make decisions, create beliefs, imagine possibilities, remember things, and solve problems. To use the mind actively to form connected ideas, make decisions, create beliefs, imagine possibilities, remember things, and solve problems. Now, thinking involves a myriad of things, and I'm going to review some of those today. So, reasoning, and that's figuring things out logically. When you figure things out logically, you're actually operating in your frontal lobe and the executive function of your brain. You're making sense of what's actually taking place. That's one aspect of thinking. Another one is imagining. So you're creating mental pictures or ideas. We call that brainstorming in the corporate world, where you're imagining what could be. You're thinking about, oh, how can I make this better? You look at a situation, it isn't working. I'll use my daughter when she first started her business, and we started doing projects, and now we're using the floor to put things together, and the floor has flooring. So we're taking particle board, putting it on the floor, moving it around to put something together. And I'm saying, this can't be how this has to be. So I'm imagining what's the best way to get this done. You need drop cloths in order to make this happen. You need cloth drop cloths, you need a tarp, you need plastic drop cloths, you need moving drop cloths for bigger, thicker projects, the things you really don't want to get scratched, like things and materials that are just delicate. So you want padding. So me just sitting there saying, this has to be done better. How can we make this workspace better so that as this thing gets built, the workspace is changing? So I'm imagining something better than the shit show that it was when we first started. Remembering is another thing that thinking involves, and it's bringing past experiences back to mind. Yesterday, we watched me remember some things that I had forgotten on purpose, buried deep, 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 deep down. And now, one hearing exam brought it all back up. So it involves past experiences. It involves, what did I do last week? What did I do last year? What did I do when I was a child? And then thinking involves believing, accepting something as true or real. For those of you who participate in 30-day challenges and you've decided that personal accountability fits the life that you're creating, you have to believe that this is real for you, that this is something that is going to make your life better. You have to believe that by using the 74 principles of real leadership and neuropability, that you are going to achieve your best outcome day in and day out. That requires thinking and then considering, carefully reflecting before making choices. I have said this before, that when you have to make decisions, first of all, if somebody is pressuring you into making a decision, the answer is no, because they're using your hijacked amygdala state to tell you, hurry up, make a decision, hurry up. You're like, oh, yes. And next thing you know, you're married and got 2 kids. Like, how did I do this? So you want to consider everything carefully, and you take your time. And to do that, you have to be objective, which is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And it allows you to base your decisions off of facts. And that only happens up here. You are never going to make a rational decision in the temporal lobe and the emotional center, the limbic system, where your amygdala and everything is at this heightened sense of anxiety. And it's not going to happen. You got all this nice dopamine happening. You're like, ooh, I'm going to make a rational decision. No, you're not. You're actually going to be cool as the other side of the pillow when you're considering everything and reflecting. So thinking is one of the most important things that humans do when they actively think. So I am speaking about active thinking, not this passive autopilotus where you just wake up and everything is just a routine. You just do it and you're not even thinking. Thinking is one of the most important things that humans do. It is one of the most important things. It is one of the most important thing that humans do when they do it, when they actually do it. And I have a post that says, think your own thoughts. Don't think somebody else's thoughts. And it's hard to do with programming and conformity bias and confirmation biases and all the isms and the caste systems and everything else. You don't know if these are your actual thoughts or if they're thoughts coming from somewhere else. Because, and I have put that quote, I made it a brain bit the other day, that you have 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day. 90% of those thoughts are repetitive thoughts from the previous day, and 80% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. So when you put that all together, How much thinking is the average person actually doing on their own? Not a lot. So you think to understand the world, to plan, to create, and to communicate. You think to understand the world, and I would say the people in the world, to plan, to create, and to communicate. So what questions do you have about the definition of think? I know we got the definition, the full meaning, and what thinking involves before we move on to positive. Okay, I don't see any dots. I will move on to positive. Okay, the definition of positive is good or beneficial, something that has a helpful, uplifting, or constructive effect. Good or beneficial, something that has a helpful, uplifting, or constructive effect. And then a second meaning is showing optimism, encouragement, or approval. Showing optimism, encouragement, or approval. So when you think about how you're going to think positive, first of all, you have to use your mind. And when you do that, you're going to be thinking optimistically. You're going to be thinking constructively. You're going to be thinking effectively. And it's this beneficial thing that you do when you're thinking positive. So it's encouragement, approval, and optimism when you're thinking positive. That's how you do it. So it's not just, come on, brain, think of things. I think positive. And when I really looked at it this morning and I thought about thinking and I thought about when I wrote the book again, these are the things that I had in my mind. But again, we didn't have the extended versions. We didn't have Google searching to this point. We didn't have Chat GPT to put it all together. But this is what I had in my mind when I thought thinking is this bigger thing. It's not just this one little thing you do. Let me think about that. Let me think about that. But it's something that's occurring consistently throughout your day, even if it is 90% of the time, the 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts that you had yesterday, there is still this thing that's actually taking place. Now we'll move on to why is it so difficult for people to think? And the first answer that popped up is always the best answer, and it is the number one answer. If we were playing Family Feud, the brain is wired for survival, not happiness. We know that as negativity bias. Okay, Kevin. The brain is wired for negativity bias. It is 100% wired for negativity bias. That's what's taking place. And so as a result, it's looking for survival. It's not looking for happiness. It's not looking for positive things because of the evolutionary process to focus more on the threats and the dangers. We are just looking to stay alive. That's it. How can we survive today? How can we survive today? And not necessarily how can we create something new? How can we imagine things better? The brain is hardwired for negativity bias. The next one is life experiences. If someone goes through a lot of pain, failure, or trauma, their mind naturally leans towards expecting more of the same. More of the same. More of the same. And even with my PTSD moment yesterday, I'm still not allowing these experiences to stop me from believing that I can plant trees for which shade I will never sit at this point in my life, because I don't want people to continue. I don't want the next generation, the younger millennials, the Z's and the A's. Good morning, Sabrina. I don't want the younger generation to be sitting somewhere 20 years from now. We're trying to recover from some shit that happened in 2025 or prior to that. So I'm not letting life experiences stop me from believing that you can still think positive. I finished the live yesterday, went on to do appointments yesterday and everything else, because that's just something that took place as the direct result. I'm saying driving safely. That's the direct result of other unaccountable people doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. So that has nothing to do with me. And that's what helps me to continue to move forward. Your environment is another reason why you don't think positive. So if you are around negative people or stress or in a stressful environment, it feeds the negativity And without you even thinking or realizing it, you're just going to be in a negative situation. That's just how it is. And what happens is when you come over here and you feel the natural dopamine and you understand that it doesn't have to be that way, when you go back into an unaccountable negative environment, you start to notice it. It's something that you wouldn't have noticed before because everybody around you is negative. So that's just how it is. But then you have this different experience, and then you go back and you're like, well, damn, we really are negative. We just doom scrolling. Damn, we just gossip. We just talk about everybody, but we don't talk about ourselves. We talk about them, but we ain't talking about what happened 20 years ago. Why granddaddy got 8 kids by 8 different women, 7 kids by 8 different women, and grandma took care of all of them. How? Why we not? Where these other women at? We don't. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about any of the things that we need to talk about, which is very superficial, subsurface things. But we're in this environment where this doom scrolling and all these other things take place on a daily basis. Then self-protection is another reason. Some people believe that being negative protects them from being disappointed. If I expect the worst, I won't be disappointed. I won't get hurt. I won't feel bad. See, I knew that was going to happen. I told y'all that wasn't going to work. I said he was going to leave. I knew I was about to get fired. It wasn't no big deal. So now this is your nice little, you get this nice little protective negativity blanket shield that you just put on all day long. And then the final thing is mental health. Anxiety, depression, and stress chemically change how the brain works, making positive thinking feel fake or impossible. I thought that was interesting. So that because of something that's taking place neurologically, feeling positive seems fake. So it feels fake to feel positive because that's not the norm. So because the brain is wired that way, now you think it's impossible. And Nola thought that at points that it was impossible to do things because of her ADHD and ADD, and that's not actually factually based. No meds, brain, new neural pathways wired all over the place. She's noticing things, and so I'm just like, wow, you would have never noticed that. And man, oh dang, you in real time you noticed that. Yesterday we were driving, and while she was driving, she noticed that the high beams were on immediately. I'm like, that just would never have occurred. So the mental health reasons are anxiety, depression, and stress chemically change how the brain works, making positive thinking feel fake or impossible sometimes. Yes, so let me know if you have that, Regina. Anxiety, depression, and stress chemically change how the brain works, making positive thinking feel fake or impossible sometimes. And it's not that people don't want to be positive. It's just that fighting all of that wiring and experiences takes real effort. And I'm a walking example of how much effort it takes to override all of that neurologically to still wake up and say, okay, that happened, but we can make this a better place. And then Sabrina says, yes, a family member told me once to be like that, and I laughed and told him no. And he said, then don't complain to me when someone disappoints me by their actions. Exactly. And again, family members will, because of their past hurt, they will help you and protect you to stay negative and hurt and that. But they won't say, you know what, that happened to me, and here's what I did to overcome that. And that's why the curses just keep getting passed down and passed down and passed down. Because like, was they 6'2"? No, don't trust people over 6 feet. Because all tall people lie. And now the next thing you like, how tall are you? Oh, you 5'11". Okay, I'm gonna listen to what you said. No, you 6'3". Ooh, you selling big. You 6'7". Oh, you lie so much. It don't even make no damn sense. Oh, you was born on a Tuesday. Nope. Ain't nobody. Every time I find out somebody was born on a Tuesday, they end up stealing my car. Nope. I ain't even gonna take you to. I'm not dropping you off nowhere. It's Tuesday. Nope. You are a Tuesday thief. That's what it is for. It's for thieving Tuesdays. That's what my family calls it. No, that's not how that works at all. So these, once again, in summary, the why is it so difficult for people to think positive is because the brain is wired for survival, not happiness. Life experiences, the environment in which you live or operate in, self-protection, and mental health. That's what I did in response, and we laughed. Yes. So that's what takes place. So what questions do you have about the 5 reasons why people have a difficulty thinking positively? Having a hot flash because the heat is on too. Or anything that you noticed from what I said. I knew negativity bias was going to be in there. It's not necessarily that's the easy way of life. It's literally that the brain is wired for negativity bias. So the brain is wired for survival, not happiness. And what happens is, back in the day, to keep you safe, you were looking for the dangers and the threats all day. Where's the saber-toothed tiger? Oh my goodness, here comes a mountain lion. Let me look for safety. And it has been passed down for thousands of generations. So people naturally wake up looking for the threat. That's why doom scrolling is so popular. That's why people wake up every day and they watch the news. Before, they used to have to wait for someone to say, don't go over that mountain because there is a saber-toothed tiger over there. There's a Tyrannosaurus Rex over there. If you go fishing today, stay away because that alligator is coming over there. And they were just trying to get food and shelter for the day and make sure that there was nothing coming to harm them or their offspring. And now, instead of looking to see what the elder or the wise person says, they just turn on the news. And the news tells you what to be afraid of today, what to worry about. Prices of eggs is $17.85. Gas just went up. We had a forest fire over here. 2 bushes at your neighbor's house caught on fire. The sprinkler broke at down the street because they have that. We have it. Nola, help me. I forgot what it's called in the neighborhood where they tell you all of the things that are going wrong in the neighborhood. And one of Nola's clients' wife said that she gets the alerts on her phone, so she knows when there's a robbery, when there's something that's taking place immediately. There's so much crime going on, and they just let her know every time something goes wrong here in the Las Vegas, Henderson, North Las Vegas area, she knows about it immediately. And it's just dangerous out here every day. So people are looking for open door. I think that's what it is. And they say, there's a bike over here and there's this. And so we're all keeping each other safe from each other. And what happens with the negativity bias is because that's how the brain is wired. If you attempt, like your uncle was attempting to keep you stuck, if you attempt to tell the person with the negativity bias something positive, they can't even process it. They don't even have the neural pathways to process what you're saying. So it doesn't even work. Comment, stress causes chemical reactions and the stress cycle begins and needs to be short-circuited. That is yes. And I believe I'm going to address that here shortly, Regina. And then Sabrina says, at work, my written team messages says, sorry I missed you. Continue to sparkle on like you usually do. It was when I first got on Teams, I forgot I wrote it and got so much flack, but it is there. Cool. Next door is what it's called. And that is an example of that, Sabrina. So what you will find is that the conformity bias and the confirmation bias says, conformity bias says, stay in this. And confirmation bias says, I believe I'm only looking for the things that confirm what I'm looking for. So if I believe everybody that was born on a Tuesday is a thief, then if you say you were born on a Wednesday, then I'm not going to talk to you. I'm just looking for people that are born on Tuesday so I can say, see, you a thief, you a thief. What day was you born on Friday? Oh, yeah, nah. Tuesday, see? There go a thief right there. There go a thief right there. So it happens that you are looking for it. You're looking for the threat. And that's the neural pathway that has been there. And the negativeness that has to affirm that. And you have to consciously say on your own, I'm not looking for a threat today. I'm actually not. Don't start none, won't be none. If Diddy from the D had to put the bat and the tire iron down, what I noticed is once I moved out of Detroit, I didn't need to have, now when I had fired some people, I had to, defend myself, make sure I was ready for them. But overall, haven't had to pick up a bat, haven't had to pick up a tire iron in many, many decades because I was no longer in an environment where that was necessary. So I just had to move. I just had to leave that environment. And now I'm not like, what you stepped on my foot? We got work. But also you said something to my cousin. All right, bet. When and where? Air and opportunity. I don't have to do those things anymore. And now it doesn't have to occur for me. And I have the ability to go off and do these great things. I was still doing great things even under those conditions. But now not having to be in that environment helps immensely. And people will stay there because there's comfort, as we mentioned yesterday. There is comfort in that negativity bias. I don't know what is out there, but I do know the threat that's here, and I'm okay. I got used to it. I got all my little techniques to deal with this threat over here. So I'm gonna stay over here. Even though it's toxic as hell, it's killing me softly. But I just know that this is better. It's not. And that's the one thing that I will say about personal accountability. There is no hard selling over here. There is no, oh, when I'm going to do all this to get 50 people on my live, 100 people on my live. It's actually a personal choice that in time, it will click for people. And until then, I will continue to do what I'm doing, but I can't force you to create new neural pathways. I can't tell. All I can do is present the information and say, this is negativity bias. This is why things aren't working. There is a better way. You can create unlimited neural pathways and have your best day. But this whole notion that I'm going to somehow get into your brain, clip that neural pathway of negativity, not thinking positively, and change it, it won't happen. It could be a temporary change, and then you're going to revert back to old behavior. And what I noticed, and I said this before, I think I have, Nola and I had the conversation. The people who don't attend lives or don't watch the replay don't have success in personal accountability because nothing is changing. If you just do the personal accountability challenge, that's, you look at it, you listen to it, any of them, 30-day challenge, you're done. But when you hear it and you experience this environment in, even if it's 1, 2, 3 times a week, it starts to create new neural pathways. But if you just think, I'm going to just do this, I don't have to listen to that, and somehow my life is going to change, it's not enough because the topics are so different. The confirmation over here is you got to do this daily. You got to do this daily. You have to hear what's happening and then make that neurological shift yourself. It's not enough to just do the challenges. And everybody who came to Alive and signed up and said, I'm going to do it, has to restart multiple times. And then they just end up dropping off because the brain is not actually wired. They're not making the changes. And so they hit that wall in that challenge. They don't have enough real leader resources to knock the wall down. And then the next thing I know, I'm getting excuses and everything else when you just have to do this work yourself. So that's the whole point, is that the brain is wired for negativity. And I'm not a negative person. And what I'm saying is not negative. So it's not going to happen overnight. And we talked about that immediate gratification as well. You want that quick dopamine boost. And now you're unwilling to do the work that it takes to get that natural dopamine that you create yourself on a daily basis. And then Sabrina said, you know, when you have a blue car and you see the same car over and over and over again, it's called the frequency illusion. Is this the same concept when you adopt negativeness? It's not. That's the reticular. I know which part you're talking about in the brain. It's not that you actually adopt negativity. It's actually hardwired into your brain. So this is something that you're born with. So let's say you are born into a family that has, I think it's type 2 diabetes, whichever one you have because you're eating, not the one you were born with. And you're born into that. And then you realize, well, I don't have to have diabetes if I just change my diet. So it's something that you're actually born with, and you have to make a conscious choice that that's not going to happen. I'll use myself as an example. My grandfather gave us the gift of high cholesterol, all of us, the children and the grandchildren. And so everybody in my family takes the Lipitor. I think that's what the cholesterol medicine is. I decided I'm not taking no prescription drugs for something that I can stop naturally through diet and exercise. So I eat nasty oatmeal. Don't try to give me a recipe. I hate it. I've tried every type, everything. It's my bowl of medicine, or vitamins if you want to call it, Will. And I just shovel it in, and I don't have high cholesterol anymore. So it's more, it comes with you, and now you have to do something to combat it. And let me know if that makes sense. So it's something that you came here with, and now you have to say, yes. So everybody is, because it's survival. It was initially designed for survival. There is a threat. So we have to stay together. We're looking for the threat so we can survive to get to tomorrow. And now it has turned into doom scrolling, and it's this perceived fear. So what happens is the amygdala, a threat shows up, and the amygdala doesn't know that this is, has someone again, this AM was delicious. I know you're loving it, Regina. I am not loving the oatmeal. So what happens is your heart starts beating, you start sweating, and the amygdala, the limbic system doesn't know if the threat is real or not. They don't know that you're not standing in front of an actual saber-toothed tiger, a lion, a bear, someone holding a weapon against you coming into your house. It could just be, oh my God, fear of missing out. If you don't get your tickets right now, and you're like, oh my God, did you know that the gas prices just went up in Atlanta? And you live in Michigan, but you like, hold up, wait a minute. I live in Michigan, I don't live in Atlanta. And it's because one of the trucks didn't come. And it's only at one gas station in Buckhead. And now you done got all upset. And now you're like, gas prices, and see, this is government. So that's not a real threat. But your brain is already looking for what is going to stop me from surviving today. Let me go find that thing. And that's what people wake up doing. And they said, and then over there in the schools, they closed that school down. School been closed. They just finally on the books took it off the books, but the news said the school closed. So now everybody like, see, this is what I'm talking about. We ain't got enough education. And now this is a conversation that's held all day long when the school been abandoned for 5 years. But you don't have that information. So you look for, what do I need to be afraid of today? And what do I need to protect myself against today, even if it's not true for me? And so when you start holding yourself personally accountable, you go, well, how does this apply to me? How does this apply to me? Do you understand what I'm saying? If people start saying there's a shortage of Similac formula, I'm perimenopausal, eggs dried up, gone. I don't care. I don't have any infants in my family, so I don't even know anybody that's nursing a child right now. So that's not, I'm not like, oh my God, oh, this is a shame. And what's happening with the factory? No, doesn't apply to me. So I'm not going to have a hijacked amygdala behind that. Not at all. And hopefully now you say you understood. So that's it. It's something that you're born with and something that you have to unwire. You got to prune that negativity bias and create a think positive neural pathway. Okay, moving on to how to start to think positive. These are some great and techniques that I had not heard of before, so I'm going to give them to you. And there are 4. The first one is the 3 good things. So it's called the 3 G's. It's the 3 G's. And so you're going to write down 3 good things that you can think of. If you find yourself thinking negatively, you're either going to think about 3 good things or you're going to write down 3 good things. So let me say, I'm like, oh my God, I only got 5 people on the line. This sucks. Ain't nobody listening to me. And all that, and I do that, I got to implement the 3 G's. And I can say, there are 5 students that show up every single day to learn about personal accountability. I have now discovered ChatGTP because of these lives every day. And now, for the first time ever, I am able to explain the 74 principles of real leadership in detail and have them somewhere. So when I get to the end, all of them are explained and I can just send people there and say, oh, you want to learn how to delegate? Here's a whole live about how to delegate. So see how those 3 G's work? I could sit here and focus on this single digit number, or I could focus on the future and what's actually taking place. And that takes me out of that. I only got 7 people on my live. See, this is what I'm talking about. They discriminate against me. It's because I'm an African-American old woman, and that's what's doing. And the algorithm, and up. It's the topic. It's the topic. It wouldn't matter if I got almost 3,000 followers on YouTube, 12,000 on TikTok, and 14,000 on Instagram. Don't matter. When I get to the deep part of my live after the introduction, it's less than 10 people on all 3 platforms. It's the topic. It's not me. Because as soon as I start talking about dopamine shit on any one of the platforms, people are there listening. Tell them. You tell them, Doc. That's right. And as soon as I say, but you, oh, no, I got to go. So that's how you use the three G's, is you find 3 good things to think about or write about in the moment. The next one is flip the script. When you catch yourself thinking negative, pause and ask yourself this simple question. Is there another way to look at this? It's an amazing question. Is there another way to look at this? And remember, when you ask the question of brain, a question in the brain, it can't be in hijacked amygdala anymore. It can't be in worry and doom and gloom. It can be like, yeah, this ain't shit. Is there another way, a better way to look at this? Huh? What you say? Oh, you asked me a question. Oh, is there? Is there another way to look at this? And the brain is like, you see that emoji. Is there another way? And now, after that, you have the ability to look at it differently. So you can say, man, I just can't get organized. I just can't get organized. Or you can say, is there another way to look at this? And it's, I'm working towards becoming more organized. Now you don't say, because I can't get organized ain't never going to get you to organize. So you sitting in the middle of your clutter, your disorganization, and you just get, I just can't get organized. I just ain't, it just, we come from a long line of disorganized people. That's great, Dana. I come from a long line of disorganized people, and I tell you what, we just, it was on my great granddaddy. All the bad stuff is on the daddy side. It's on my daddy's side. We just, we just hoarders, and we just keep stuff. And when Big Mama died, we just had all her stuff, and we just passed it down to everybody else. It's not going to change anything. But if you say I am focused on becoming more organized, the brain says, "Oh, okay. Well, so what we about to do then?" And now you say, "Well, we're going to start with this pile of clothes sitting on top of my feet. I'm going to start folding it up." And now you tell yourself, I am becoming more organized. And now this is the strategy, because you can't just say it. You got to have some actions that go along with that. And now the next thing you know, Nola thought she was disorganized. She never thought she was going to be able to manage 3 calendars at the same time and be extremely organized and do all the things administratively that it takes to run her businesses. She never thought she was going to be able to do that. And she can. And as I mentioned, word choice matters. It actually matters. If you say I can't, you're going to be right. If you say I can, and can makes the impossible possible is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, it changes everything. So flip the script and say, is there another way to look at this? Chat. It's, if tuna is the chicken of the sea, doesn't that mean that chicken is the tuna of the land? Chat. One second, Sabrina. I'm going to get to your... Sabrina. I also play uplifting music and turn periodically. As they say, it charges your frequency, and it works for me. If it works for you, keep using it. Okay, the next one is compassion, self-talk. Compassion, self-talk, and we talked about self-talk yesterday. So when you're stuck in a heavy negative spiral, and that spiral could be anything like self-hate, hopelessness, anger, sadness, imagine, and Regina, this will resonate with you because it's similar to the shadow and the tools. Imagine you are talking to your younger version of yourself, like 8-year-old you. I have the picture of 11-year-old me when it was 10 years old when I took the photo, 11, somewhere around there, 10 or 11 years old, because I took the photo before my birthday, in the spring before my birthday. But imagine that you're talking to your elementary school self. 8 years old, I talked to my 10/11-year-old self. And then ask, what would I say to them right now? So if you had 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old you spiraling out of control, doom and gloom, this is terrible, this is so bad, what would you say to them? Would you say, here, listen to here, you little motherfucker, you doggone weak ass, shut the fuck up? No, that's not what you would say when you got them spiraling out of control, little cute self. I used to suck my thumb when I was that little. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, listen, okay? Failure isn't final. Let's do this. Come on, pick yourself up. So what? You fell off the monkey bars. Let's put some Mercure calm on this bad boy. And come on, I'm going to take you over there. We're going to do these monkey bars one at a time. You're going to pick yourself up. And you're going to talk to yourself in a way that helps you to get out of that situation. You're going to have some compassion for yourself. So stop mentally beating yourself up. Yes, I did it. And I come from a long line of thumb suckers. And so, yes, everything's going to be all right. Yes. So that's what happens. Yes, it's okay. I understood what you meant. And so you tell yourself that everything is going to be all right. And you then give yourself a strategy, and then you move on. So the next time you find yourself stuck in a rut and you can't get your butt up and you're mad and you're stirring some doggone self-pity stew that you're about to serve to yourself, no, throw that shit in the trash. We're not doing that. We're going to make ourselves a nice little compassion cake. Put it together and eat it and say, yes, we got this, okay? And they call it the shadow in the book, The Tools, to understand that everybody is pretty much protecting that little child inside of them. Or some of you might be beating that child up, so stop, okay? Don't do that to yourself. Have a compassionate self-talk. And then the next and final one of today is the grounding technique. And it's when your mind is spiraling, anchor yourself back to the present moment by using your five senses. So you anchor yourself back to the present moment. And we have a saying in Al-Anon, be where your feet are. You stay in the present moment. I have several videos saying that. So you look down at your feet and you're in the present moment. But this takes it a step further. And it says that, so using your five senses, this is what you're going to do. Number one, you're going to name five things that you can see. So you're spiraling out of control. Nothing else is working. You're going to stop and name five things that you can see. So right now I can see my bed. I can see my Bible on my dresser. I can see my picture of me when I was in 5th grade. I can see my yoga mat, and I can see the lamp that's looking at me. So 5 things that you can see. And then next, you're going to name 5 things that you can touch. So I can touch these yoga cards. I can touch my glasses. I can touch this Sally Hansen's clear nail polish, and I can touch the thing to clean off my glasses and my screens. Now, name 3 things that you can hear. I can hear the heat being on in our house. I can hear the fan being on because the heat is on. And I can hear the birds outside of my windows because the sun is coming up. Now, the next one is name 2 things that you can smell. I can actually smell my coffee, and I can actually smell these almonds because I have a good sense of smell. Nola will tell you that. And then the final thing is name 1 thing that you can taste, and I can still taste the coffee on my tongue because I just drank some coffee. So here is it again. Name 5 things you can see, and it's called the grounding technique. Name 4 things that you can touch. Name 3 things that you can hear. Name 2 things that you can smell, and name 1 thing that you can taste. And if you can't taste anything, it's been a minute and you haven't had anything and you can't taste anything, you say, I can't taste anything. And then you be where your feet are. And by the time you do all that, whatever was taking place, that moment is gone. Because now you actually have to be in the moment using all 5 of your senses. And that is what we say in Al-Anon again, to be where your feet are. What questions do you have about how to start to think positive? 3 good things we went over. Yes, the 3 G's is called 3 good things. Flip the script, and 3 good things are 3 good things that you're going to say so that you don't spiral out of control. Flip the script, and the question is there another way to look at this? The compassion self-talk, you're going to think of your younger self and what would you tell your younger self instead of what you're telling your current old self. And then the grounding techniques, naming 5 things you can see, name 4 things you can touch, name 3 things you can hear, name 2 things you can smell, and name 1 thing that you can taste. So ground yourself in the present moment, yes, by paying attention to your 5 senses. And when you do it, you bring yourself back to where you currently are. And when you do all of these over time, what you're doing is creating that new neural pathway to positive thinking. So you don't have to just pick one of these. You can use all of them because the objective is to not have that negativity bias neural pathway there anymore. You need to prune it. And that's what the process is. When you don't use it, you lose it. So the more you use your positive neural pathways, thinking positive and taking those actions, then that negative neural pathway gets dismissed because you're not using it anymore. So for those people who have been sitting down, and the one thing I'll say is that my two and a half years as being a Zom at Frito-Lay, I was the most out of shape, not physically, but just I didn't have any cardiovascular strength. I was inflexible. That's when I started doing yoga after I left that corporate job. So I was just stuck and sedentary, and it was just there. And as soon as I got out of all of that, I got back to my active self, and I hadn't been using my physical fitness neural pathways, and they had atrophied it. But I went back and got them. But what you want is to actually not use that neural pathway so that it atrophies and then it gets pruned and then it just dies off. And Regina said, I have used grounding techniques and it really works. Okay, just because Kevin, no. Okay, Where did you get the grounding technique information from? And just so you know, I'm doing the talk to text, so I'm being safe because he knew I was about to say something. Actually, Chat GPT. It came from Chat GPT. I keep saying it backwards, but it's amazing. And I actually, in one of I have two different broadcast channels on Instagram because I'm running parallel experiments. And I asked people if they when I started using it a couple days ago, I asked people about it because I had heard all these negative things about it. Some people said it was good, some people said it sucked. So I said, well, let me find out. And as I mentioned, if it was software and had to use it on a computer, I wasn't using it. I'm like, I'm not using no damn computer, it's too slow. Found out that it was an app as well, and I have been using it, and I've so far found it to be beneficial. I'm going to use it for 30 complete days to see, but I haven't saw any downsides to it. The one thing I will say, it felt foreign because remember I was telling you I was scouring the earth on Google trying to find stuff every day. Like, damn, why is this so hard? But ChatGPT does it. I search what I need to search, and then it'll ask, well, do you have a follow-up question? Is this what you were looking for? If not, do you want me to do something else? So it's really enhancing what I'm doing. And what took me, why I got on the live today right at 5:30, is because they have the search and then they have the detailed research. And I'm probably calling that wrong, but I just found that button this morning. And literally, I searched about working memory, and it took it about 7 minutes to gather information from like 20 something sources. But what happens is once you finish it, you can then copy the link and send the link to yourself so you have that chat to go back and look at it. It asks all these things. So for me, it's beneficial. I do not feel like it's cheating because before I would have to search all these different things to get my one answer, and now it comes to my phone immediately. So yes, that's where it came from. But it came from my targeted search. It's not coming from but the actual detailed research actually has sources to say where these things came from. And I know you're driving, Kevin, so that's okay. Sabrina said, I did not know they were called grounding techniques, as I do one or two of the things on the list and some things you have told me. I have never heard of grounding techniques. Sounds interesting. So if you think about it, you just want to be grounded and just be where your feet are. And that's how that works. The thing about thinking positive, and if you did hashtag think positive on any of the social media platforms, if you thought about how to think positive, you're going to get a bunch of things how to do. Say quotes and say affirmations to yourself. One thing that I noticed that when people are telling you to think positive is that they are not addressing why you are not thinking positive. They're just telling you to do it. If you don't know about negativity bias, you're going to be trying to figure out why the fuck the think positives ain't working. Why is this not working for me? So then you're going to be depressed because you're trying to think positive and it's not working. So then that's really going to make you mad. And now it's going to be this vicious cycle. There will be no compassionate self-talk. There won't be, oh, let me go address my 8-year-old self. And that's why in everything that I explain, you have to ask yourself, why is this not occurring? And that's the technique that I learned from the Army and Frito-Lay, is the root cause analysis. If you don't know what the problem is, how you're going to develop a solution to eradicate the situation is not going to take place at all. So you first have to understand, why is it this occurring? And then what strategy can I develop for it to occur? And that's the other thing. That's why when people like think positive, I just like, so you're just going to think positive? That's it. You're just going to wake up and think positive. Why your life still a shit show? You got all these posters and all these affirmations in your car, in your house, on your mirror, on the bathroom, on the refrigerator, and everywhere else, but you still one of the most negative people I know. It's not working. Take this shit down. Are you sure this is supposed to work? Because I'm looking at this and this is not what you're doing. I am light and I am love and it is not darkness. I'm like, every time I get off the phone with your ass, I'm like, whew, I gotta recover. Gosh, I gotta recover. What's wrong with these damn affirmations? Are you reading them? Like, do you need me to verbally say them to you? I got a good voice. I can be a voiceover person. You are amazing. Can I send that to you? Because this shit ain't working. Well, I suffer from depression. Stop. That right there is the problem. If you keep saying I suffer from depression and then you don't read the doggone things, the suffer from depression, because you're saying it. I suffer from depression. So the brain is like, okay, well, let me send you some more depression. You have not because you asked not, but you asking. So here you go. Bam. Here goes some depression for you. No, that's not how it works, Dr. Donna. Yes, it is. Nola suffered from depression. It's neurological. It is. It's not, oh, well, I just need my prescription for my anxiety. No, you don't. You need to rewire your brain so that you are not anxious. I told Nola this. She was in middle school. I said, you don't have to be anxious. I don't know. You actually don't. If you plan and organize and do everything, your anxiety, every time you get anxious, hold up. You need a strategy. That's all the anxiety is saying. Is this a stress? And I need a strategy for this. So this thing doesn't make me anxious anymore. Now I have a strategy. Magically, no more anxiety. It is the deadliest weapon, and it's coming from negativity bias. So have this conversation. I challenge you to have this conversation with anybody who's go find your most positive thinkerist person and ask them, well, why do people think negatively? And the answer, the number one answer, if we were playing Family Feud, is negativity bias. And if they say that, then keep listening. But if they say, oh, well, it's just upbringing and just, a lot of stuff happens to people, we are hardwired. And if that neural pathway is wired and connected, you got that synapses and that connectivity, it's going to happen no matter what. Does that work for people that are scared of heights, or is that a different kind of anxiety? Well, here's what I will tell you, Sabrina. One thing about going to the Army, they find out what you're scared of, and then they make you do that. So I was afraid of heights. And next thing I knew, I was on the tower rappelling off of the Victory Tower at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And then I had to go to air assault school. And then I was afraid of deep water swimming because my sister tried to drown me when I was 8 years old. They said, oh, don't worry about that. They're going to 3-meter board. You're going to jump into 16 feet of water, drop your gear, go back down there and come back up again. So if you're scared of the dark, don't worry. The next FTX, you got 1 a.m. fire guard. You just make sure the platoon is good. What? So in the military, if you are afraid of something, you ain't gonna be afraid of it long term. But no, those are phobias, and those you have to do other things to get rid of that. But you can get to the point where it won't make you as scared. So I am a germaphobe, and Noah's business has made it so there are a lot of germs that take place that 5 years ago I'd be like, yeah, fuck that, we're not doing that. You see all the dirt over there. So then you become more accustomed to it, so you don't have as many panic attacks when you keep doing it. But that it's still going to be there. So because I haven't repelled out of something in a while. So I'll use this example. We were up 20 something stories in an apartment building doing patio furniture with a glassed in patio up 27 stories, and it was windy that day. So I wasn't leaning over saying, oh, wow, look at the view. But I was up there, and I didn't run back into the apartment and say, yeah, we're not doing this. So what happens is the more you do it, you become desensitized to it. But you have to take other risks around it. So if you are afraid of heights, then you need to go start taking other risks, like in your clothing, eat different food. So you need to get your risk strength up, and then you can go and stand on the 4th floor of something and look out the window. So I'm not recommending that you go and bungee jump, because it's baby steps to it. And then you have to get to understand why you're afraid of heights. And so I was afraid of deep water swimming because when I was 8, we were at the city pool and my sister took me in 5 feet of water and left me, and then went off to go talk to her friends. And now that we know she has ADHD too, I don't know that was on purpose. She just tried to kill me a couple times, but I don't think in that instance, I think she just was like, oh, let me go talk to my friends, and forgot I was over there. Yes, because I need to get off the Zoloft. Yes, so what happens is, and I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not telling you to stop your medication. What I'm saying is my family has a tendency, addictive nature, and so my daughter and I have chosen to steer clear of any prescription medications of any kind unless it's necessary. Sinus infections, stuff like that. But repetitive, reoccurring prescriptions and alcohol, weed, and all of that, because we just come from a group of people who have the propensity to be addicted to those things. And what happens is whenever you're putting something in your body and your brain, it is changing the chemistry of it. And so big pharma has had neuroscientists say, well, what about this drug? How do we cure this? How do we cure that? And I'll take a pill. And sometimes you need that particular prescription drug. But most of these things that people have prescription for can actually be through diet and exercise and the rewiring the neural pathways of your brain. You don't necessarily have to do that. So there should be options for people who are like And even when we come in contact with people that take the ADHD medicine, anxiety medicine, Nola had people that had schizophrenia in school, the kids would go to the nurse, take it, and come back, and not really, there wouldn't really be a difference. So Sabrina says, yes, I think I had obsessive compulsive disorder and I kept washing my hands. My family started making fun of it and kept asking me why I'm washing my hands and made fun of it and stopped me. Hate jokes at my expense. Yes. And so again, people make fun of things that they don't understand. And one thing that I did learn at Frito-Lay was seek first to understand and then be understood. So Nola has scoliosis too, which impacts her driving because of how crooked her spine actually is. And so there are things that she can't wrist-wise do when it comes to turning. And so for me, when I'm looking at what's stopping someone from becoming their best, there isn't a cookie cutter approach. And that's why I'm okay with people incrementally learning how to hold themselves personally accountable, because it is customized. All of you take the same challenges and none of you have the same. Even when people do the daily, which is research and the same, your response, the person that you talk to, the conversations, your learnings, even with that, it's still a different response. People will have extra information. If they're more interested in it, then the submissions will be longer. So what happens is everybody's brain is different and your experience in life is different. I've said that currently all of us are in different locations. Kevin is driving right now. We're all Nola and I are in the same house, but she's in her side of the house. I'm on my side of the house, and it's different. And what happens is you have to take the time, and that's the difference, and Regina can attest to this. That's the difference between an educator and a teacher. A teacher will teach you what needs to be done. An educator will understand your learning obstacles, remove those obstacles, and then assist you so that you can learn whatever it is that you need to learn. And that's the difference between having good parents and bad parents and good family members. And when you're looking to help someone become your best, it's customized and it's going to take more time. And when people can't understand it, the first thing they do is make fun of it and dismiss it because it makes them uncomfortable. And you can't be uncomfortable with that. So with Nola and all her wonderful gifts that she's come to this earth with, and myself as well, it's how do you become your best with what you have and what you came here with? How do you MacGyver it and use what you have? And when you have confirmation bias, conformity bias, negativity bias, and all the gender biases and everything else, it's not going to occur. Not me. Anchor, my family members has anxieties and they got older, and we were on a Ferris wheel and she started crying. We had to get off early and she told us about a time when someone scared her on the ride. Yes. And so that happens. And what happens is, as we found out yesterday, you just push that stuff down and keep it moving because life keeps going on. And for me, like I mentioned yesterday, I didn't want to appear to be weak, especially as an officer. Like I'm not going to say that because that would make me appear weak. But it was just factually based things that took place, and they need to come up and come out because that's stopping me from continually growing forward to continue this mission as to teach adults how to hold themselves personally accountable. And I didn't even know it was there. And then even Nola mentioned about the couch because I had forgot about the captain, my company commander, leaving. And now here's Major Kim over there. Lieutenant Thomas sits next to me on the couch. Okay. Am I going to Leavenworth today? I'm not. Okay, got it. Roger that. So really thinking about what happens if you. So yeah, I totally forgot about those things. And again, that triggering, that's the PTSD. I actually have more PTSD though growing up in Detroit than I actually do in the Army, because I was there much longer in Detroit than in the Army. But it's there. And then you just block it out and you keep moving. But those things have to come up too, because they are stopping you. Anything that's stopping you from becoming your best, you have to address. Anything, I'm going to write that down. Anything that's stopping . So the thinking positive happens when you understand negativity bias. If you don't understand negativity bias, you're never going to be able to think positive. If you were wondering why you can't always think positive, and it's not natural for you to always think positive, but when you don't, you have to understand where is it coming from. And most of the time it's past experiences. It's fear or past experiences. And you address that. So when it comes up, it comes to leave. So if something is taking place, that's why I didn't cancel the live yesterday. I didn't try to persevere through. I'm like, I got to address this right now, or you're not going to get this information. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And what am I getting ready to do about it? That's the process to address your feelings. And then you just move on. And if it shows up again, now, according to Nola, other than me crying on the live yesterday, I'm saying all day long, I'm like, dang, this PTSD is kicking my ass. It's kicking. And she is like, ma'am, Dr. Donna, we didn't went on these appointments. I can't tell. I don't know what's happening on the inside of your head, but it's not obvious to the rest of us. So other than the tears yesterday, not quite sure what you're talking about, but I can't see it. I'm like, oh, but it's here. So, and I said, if you feel someone else's feelings, you're not supposed to feel their feelings because that's their thing. So when you feel somebody else's feelings, it's irresponsible in all the time. Just like, I'm not going to feel it. You going to feel it, but I'm not going to feel it. No, this is my own personal journey that I'm on right now. And you shouldn't feel it, but I'm feeling it and I'm processing it as it comes up because it came to leave. So that's just me understanding that when it shows up, I'm going to have compassion for myself because I wasn't being weak. That's just the things that occurred. And it was just all part of the process that got me here to the point here today. This t-shirt came from Amazon. They have a bunch of different ones. I actually have 2 more that I need to get. Hopefully, I've switched to Etsy now because the ones on Amazon, I don't like them other than the ones I already currently have. Okay, what did you learn today? And what did you learn about yourself? And then we'll go ahead and get out of here. Okay, well, that wasn't my intention, Sabrina. I did not want to make you cry. Was not my intention. Yeah. Oh, you can put on a t-shirt. Okay, thank you. I usually just make quotes for it. But yes, you said, yep. Yeah, that was not my intention at all. I was just like, wow, this was actually, and Nola's been telling me, hey, ma'am, that wasn't cool and that was kind of bad. And she's been saying it for years. I was like, no, that's just what soldiers do. That's what you just dismiss it until you realize that shit was dysfunctional as hell. That's not how that goes. That's not what you signed up for when you said you was going to be an officer in the Army. That wasn't it. None of that was on the list. If you have a list of accomplishments, that list was a different list at all. I learned about the grounding method. And then what did you learn about yourself? I learned that I like GPT so far. I learned about all the grounding techniques and will keep it positive. Yes. I learned about myself. I am definitely better at positive thinking than I have been over the years. I agree. And Regina said, I learned 4 ways to think positive. Yes, 4 techniques. Because if one doesn't work, go to the next one. Because depending on what's causing you to think negatively, you have to do something else. You can't just stick with one. It can't just be, I'm going to just talk to my 8-year-old self. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have compassion, self-talk. No. Might need to be doing some grounding. Let me make sure I make that as a thing. All right. The 3 good things and flip the script. Right. And I texted that to myself too. I'm at work and I just don't understand when you take on someone else's feelings. When you take on someone else's, so what happens is the energy shows up and it has to go somewhere. And so what happens is, let's say I'm angry and I start walking around the house, slamming shit down, slamming the doors and hitting the things and closing the doors and yelling at people. That's now everybody is feeling my anger. And it's just Nola and I in the house. But let's say I had a house and it was a spouse and 3 other children. And I'm slamming stuff and throwing stuff down and all of that. My mother used to do this. Now everybody out in the house is walking on eggshells because of my inability to fix my own stuff. So I'm going to make everybody else feel bad because I feel bad and I'm angry. So that's why people do it, because they want you to feel what they feel, because they don't want to sit down and literally say, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And what am I doing? And then if you're saying, why do people do it? It's because we weren't taught to process our feelings correctly and how to handle them. So it's misdirected anything. Okay. And Sabrina, you said, I learned that I need to implement the 3 good things and ask more questions instead of getting mad at people when they don't do what I want. That's great. That's growth for sure. And then Regina said, I learned that I have removed myself from a negative family environment. Yes. And Kevin said, at Sabrina, Dr. Donna don't do the ugly cry. It's normally cute and quick. Yeah, that was that's how y'all know. Y'all was like, woo, this some shit right here. Cause she normally is okay. And then I get back. Yes. Normally I don't. But and that's because it literally, I promise y'all, that doggone hearing machine took me out. I went back to that. I was like, whoa, I'm all the way at basic training. We didn't went back to June of 1990 up in here. I did not think we was gonna have the same equipment because you think that because you're going to civilians that they updated the equipment, but you have to use the exact equipment that the military used. And so, yeah, I went back. That shit felt like a time machine. I was like, okay, I'm back in June of 1990. And then remember, the Desert Storm started kicking. I was at basic training when Bush was like, yeah, so this is what we about to go get Saddam. And all this other, no, this was when it was first. It was Daddy Bush at that time. Yes, and then when I got out, it was Baby Bush. But so yeah, so imagine. I mean, think about that for a second, y'all. I know we got to go, but think about it. Go to your senior year of high school, and what were you doing your senior year of high school? And I literally 1 weekend out the month was going to drill. So I was putting my BDUs on, going to the hospital because I was a medical assistant doing medical records. And 1 weekend out the month, I was going to the hospital and doing my work and my BDUs and coming home. And by January, I'm watching the war on television. Like, so when I graduate, is this going to be Vietnam or how's this going to work? So that whole time for those 100 days while it was going on, I was still applying to college and all of that. But I'm like, yeah, I get out of AIT. I might not be going straight to college at this point. It might be going over there. So that was an interesting time. And Nola brought it to my attention because when I was doing it, I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm just like, I got to go to drill. I got to go drill this weekend. I got to go to drill this weekend. But most people was going to work at McDonald's or something. I mean, I was still at ROTC, ran track and all of that. But 1 weekend out the month, I was a weekend warrior. And I was 17. Didn't turn 18 till I finished. Got my ROTC scholarship. So then I didn't have to stay in the reserves. And then I went to college. But that's what I was doing my senior year of high school. All right. And then, yes, it was a whirlwind yesterday of actions. At first, I wasn't sure what was happening. And then Dina said, oh, so I got to stop snapping because it's not fair to the people around me. I didn't know that. I had no clue. Yes, that's what you have to stop doing because it's misdirected. Yes, it was an insane time. And they had trading cards for Desert Storm. I was like, this is weird. Yeah, definitely it was. Definitely it was. And they sprayed some stuff over there too. So people had Gulf War syndrome, I think is what it was. So yeah, it was an interesting time. And definitely from there, and then it just went on. The ROTC was a mess and all of that. So it was just, 9.5 years of a bunch of not fair treatment for me, for myself. But it's there. It will come up. It will go. It will move on. It ain't stopping. One PTSD experience don't stop no show at all. It's just 5.5 years out of soon to be 52. And it happens. And so what I'm showing you is that it's okay to feel this shit got to come up. Don't push it down. Don't do that. Because then as Dina mentioned, now you snapping at everybody else for some shit that happened 25, 30 years ago. So don't do that. Let what comes up comes out. Let it come out and release it. Because you was holding on to it. And you got to let it go so you can feel lighter. And you can free yourself from that. I'm not about to be ashamed of that no more. And it wasn't necessarily shame. Again, I was an officer. It's just things that you do as an officer. Like I said, I used to eat last. Sometimes we run out of food. And so you don't show no weaknesses because, lives are on the line. Last thing you could be doing is be like, oh, God, but it's over. I'm not Captain Thomas anymore. I'm Dr. Nana. Okay. And then Dina said, yes, my uncle was a Marine. He caught Agent Orange, and I guess from that stuff, they were spraying in the air. Yes, most of the Vietnam vets from then have anywhere from stage 1 prostate cancer all the way up to stage 4 because of the Agent Orange. That is correct. And so that too, you get shots, you don't know. People, but now they can refuse the shots. Back then, you just got them and you moved on and moved out smartly and kept doing what you were doing. So a lot of things happening there. Remember, I took the ROTC scholarship to go to college because that's how I was going to fund my education. So throw all that in there too, and you just end up with where you are. Okay, so thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for attending today for yourself. And remember that thinking positive is something that is possible, but it's a neurological pathway. It's a new neural pathway that you're using. You're pruning the negativity bias on purpose so that you can replace it with the think positive new neural pathway. That is what my pleasure. That is what it is there for. It is there for you, and it's not fake. I think positive. I think positive. You are. That's some bullshit. It's literally, this neural pathway doesn't serve me. That one has to go. I'm putting this new one in place so I can grow forward, and grow continually is one of the 74 principles of real leadership as well. So you all go off. Good discussion today. I'm going to take a shower, exfoliate my skin, eat my amazing bowl of oatmeal. And and I always save my piece of chocolate for after. I'm like a pet. So I always say this piece of chocolate. If y'all wonder, like, who the hell just breaks off piece of chocolate? So as soon as I finish that nasty ass bowl of oatmeal, I eat my nice little one square of chocolate as a treat. Like, good girl, you did it. So now here's your treat for eating this nasty bowl of oatmeal. But you don't have high cholesterol. So yes, so God willing, higher power in the universe. Dina said, thank you so much for this information. I will definitely use these techniques. Kudos to you, and that's awesome. I will be back tomorrow, same time. God, universe, and higher power willing. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. This amazing face, different brain t-shirt. You all go off and have a sensational Saturday. Take care.